Hi, everybody. I am your host, Salenna Green, and this is the Hot Girls Healing Podcast. Um, this is a space where we discuss diverse topics and how they relate to healing. Um, I am your resident hot girl, but per usual, I do have a guest here with me today. I am joined with Tyson Robinson today, and we will be discussing healing and trauma. So I know Tyson through the podcast network. There are some Black podcasters out here who are not trying to be, what the typical representation of podcasts is out, in the mainstream. There are folks out here who are healing focused, who are community focused, who have visions for our communities. And our podcasts are just one way in which we are going about building up our communities. And I know Tyson to be one of these people. So, Tyson, introduce yourself to the people and let's get into this conversation.
Hey everyone, thank you for having me on today, Salenna. My name's Tyson, 26, live in Seattle. I am the host of the Tyson's Vibe podcast, where you can catch new episodes every Tuesday and Friday on YouTube.
Hey. Okay, so we talking about healing and trauma, right? And as two people who exist in the Black community, I know that there's a lot of cultural context around this conversation that we're about to have, and we a little bold for having it. I'm gonna say that too, because the conversation being open around healing, being open and vulnerable, really with each other in community, even with our own family members, sometimes can be really hard in the African American community. So this episode is an encouragement to find some therapy. Okay, we're going to talk about a lot of different ways we can do that. And we're even going to start off right the fuck now, being vulnerable and talking about our journeys and what led us to therapy. So I'm in therapy. I've had a therapist firmly since about 2019. How about yourself, Tyson? Tell everybody a little bit about your journey.
Okay, like where I was born and everything, and what led me to therapy.
you can you can be as detailed as you want to within the time constraints that we know we got. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure that it was more than one thing that led you to therapy. It was more than one thing that led me to therapy. But just generally, what was the situation? What was the condition? How are you feeling?
Okay, well, childhood trauma, self-esteem trauma, different types of trauma. And I do want to add that if you are a Black person or person of color, you need therapy because you have trauma of some sort. I don't know any Black person or person of color walking around without therapy. No, you need therapy. Everyone needs therapy who looks like us. So I started last year in 2022. My therapist is actually a psychic medium. So she's in
Mm.
the spiritual world, in the astrology world. So she's able to read my energy, communicate with spirit guides, communicate with ancestors, things of that nature, and like what do I need, what I need to do, and she can foresee certain events before happening. So I'm very, very lucky to have her.
Wow. That is beautiful. And you're not the first person that I've talked to who said that their therapist is also, a spiritual practitioner or that they also have their own healing practice. Now, I don't know that my therapist is a spiritual practitioner, but she knows that I am. She knows that I practice, that I, am in tune with the universe, and that I rely on my tarot cards sometimes to tell me what the fuck is going on, to communicate with my highest self. So I love that. Can you talk more about how that shows up in a therapy session? And I know
Y-
you already said a little bit about it, but just really for the people who
yes,
don't know.
no, no, that's all. It's all good. So last year, no, in 2021, when Clubhouse was really heavy, I was on there a lot, and I was just like room hopping. Clubhouse is a social app or
Mhm.
app where you can communicate with other people via your phone or computer, and you create rooms, and the purpose of it is to network and make new connections and friends and business opportunities. So I was room hopping when Clubhouse was really hot, and that was like a couple years ago, 2020.
Mhm.
And then I found this room where my therapist, who's my therapist now, where she was in, and I didn't know what she was doing. Something about a tarot. I heard cards shuffling, and I was like, all right. And people were like, wow, am I really getting a new car in the next couple of weeks? Or I'm really getting that promotion? Like she could read people and see what was about to happen. She was like, all right. So I raised my hand, got on stage. And I was like, okay, read me then. And then she said, I was like, do I need to move? Like, what's going on with me? And she was like, card, shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. Oh, you're really gonna leave that 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom? I'm like, huh? Like, how do you know this? I never gave you my address, my middle name, or anything. So, ever since then, I've been hooked on to her services, and
Not the middle name.
and then I've been hooked on to her services, and ever since then, she kept reading me. It was like, what's going on? You keep reliving the past, and we tried different techniques about, like,
Mm,
you know, writing a letter to the person who's hurt you the most, or writing something on a plate and throwing it at the tree, or just meditating at the tree, which is a form of tree therapy. And she's like, you know what? You need therapy, and now here's my prices, this, that, and the third. And then we signed up, and we started last year around March or April, around that time. And ever since then, it's been going good. I've been able to compartmentalize my emotions. I'm
mm.
able to try like different healthy tactics whenever a traumatic event comes up. So things are going pretty good.
Wow, that is wonderful. I actually like it's so funny. Like I do believe that, people um have knowing. Like I have a sense of knowing that, I definitely can't control and what have you. But I remember one time I was following these two tarot readers who are Black women, and they were doing live tarot readings too. And I was like, let me just see. Like I remember they like did a reading on me and it was like not accurate and I ended up like just not following the page no more. But the power of someone who like is actually tapped in and actually hears from the ancestors or hears from the spirit. Like I've also been in spaces with people like that, and the way I got goosebumps, like the way you can feel the truth in what they're saying, and they really will pick up on things that there's just no way they could have known that. Like you ain't being that forward, right? In your first interaction with someone, certainly not on Clubhouse, where it's really. I was on Clubhouse too for a while, and that was another space where I just didn't really get into it. Um, it was at a time where I was trying to listen more than talk, and I felt like a lot of the people who were on there really just wanted to hear themselves talk. I was like, y'all not really saying nothing. Like I don't know if y'all noticed that. So I'm glad that to hear that you also had a positive experience and takeaway from Clubhouse.
Oh yeah, I made a lot of connections on there, and thank God that's where I met the therapist. So
Mm.
shout out to her.
Yeah, absolutely. And shout out to that platform for doing something good for somebody. Let's talk about coming to terms with your situation and how therapy can help with that. Because I know for me, coming to terms with my situation is like often what leads me directly back to emailing my therapist and being like, let me sign up for some more sessions because my situation, I've come to terms with it and I need some help. I don't know what the hell I'm doing in this situation.
You just had a
Um,
good therapy session, and then the trauma comes right back up. It's like, oh my gosh, I just felt good during that therapy session. She told me everything to do, and it just snuck up on me again. I got things to do. I don't want to walk around with an attitude or anything. Like I trust me, I know.
mhm. Like I've been in and for me a lot of the time with my therapy, I'm talking about how I can like get out of the situation I'm in. So
Mm.
coming to terms with your situation, y'all, we not telling you just accept whatever it is and learn coping mechanisms to stay in the situation. We mean like really being realistic about your situation. Are you happy? Are you satisfied? Are
Mm.
your relationships thriving? And these are platonic or, romantic. Our friendships matter. So that's what I mean when I'm saying, looking at your situation and accepting what it is means accepting whether you're satisfied with it or not.
I
And then
agree.
doing something about that.
I agree. And then my therapist tells me my third eye is open, so I'm able to like read people's energy a little bit everywhere I go,
Mm.
and I'm good at cutting people off and making the necessary adjustments. I think that's very, very, very vital in order for you to be a healthy being again. That's part of your healing journey. You know, what's the saying? Not everyone is meant to go on you to the next level. So
Hmm.
yeah, I agree.
And I love that y'all are working with that because one thing that I've actually had to work on since starting therapy and learning more about my own emotional regulation and emotional intelligence, like I was not emotionally intelligent when I started my journey with therapy. And I realized that it was holding me back in a lot of ways because my inability to control or regulate my emotions, because not control isn't the right word. I'm not trying to control my emotions. My emotions don't need to be controlled, but to regulate them and to observe them and to manage them was something that I was not doing. I was whole ass not letting myself experience distasteful emotions. Like if I was like, I don't like that one, I'm gonna go ahead and suppress that whenever it comes up.
Mhm.
Like that wasn't an actual emotional regulation. And so I found that in my healing journey, I'm feeling more. Like I'm allowing myself to feel a full range of human emotion. And with that is coming, new challenges, because now I'm having to manage these new emotions that before I was just suppressing them.
What without getting too much into your personal, because I don't know how much you want to share. Do you remember someone in your life trying to like treat you like a pet? Like be quiet, all right, stop laughing, or why are you crying for? Or where are you at? I need to talk to you right now, or kind of just like pulling you and dragging you everywhere.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I am the 11th of 12 children. So
Yeah. It
almost
feels good to
everybody in
feel.
my life treated me to some extent as someone who would do what they wanted to do, say what they wanted to say, someone they could direct. I grew up having to follow a lot of direction, constantly hearing be seen and not heard, stay in a child's place.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
these are
Yeah.
common in our community.
I one thing
So
I know about our
absolutely.
people is that we love pulling rank. Oh well,
Mm.
I'm this years old, or I've been
Hmm.
doing this for like X, Y, and Z. Like, yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, I think that that led to a lot of people pleasing tendencies that I wasn't aware of. Like, I thought that I was being, a mediator, or, someone who's just like going with the flow or trying to make peace. But a lot of that was literally just people pleasing,
yeah.
doing what someone said so they wouldn't be mad at me, or, whatever it was. And even with, my mom, because my mom raised us mostly by herself. Like my parents divorced when I was 17 and were separated for most of my life. So I was doing a lot in this big family to, try to get the attention of the one parent that we had. It was a mess. Like a whole ass mess emotionally. And it's something that, you got to deal with when you're grown, because you're not a kid anymore, and you face different consequences as an adult.
Yeah, and you don't have that excuse of saying this is what happened when I was a kid, especially when you're in your 20s and 30s. By when we get older and older and older and when we hit our 50s, like that's really not an excuse anymore. So I try to encourage people to take care of it now. I'm only 26, so like take care of
Hmm.
whatever you need to take care of right now, because when we get older, no one's gonna really care as much anymore. It's gonna be kind of watered down because some of our traumas are very very real. So
Hmm. And that's so true. I think that, a lot of the time, and especially in our culture, because I mean, that's what I could speak to the most. I think that we have this practice of just like trivializing mental health. There's like the meme for like, oh, I told my mom I was depressed as a kid, and she told me to depress them dishes. Like,
I never wait what?
funny, funny when you read it, but like terrible when you actually unpack it. I saw that on Twitter. Like multiple people were like, "I told my mom when I was depressed as a teenager. She told me to go depress them dishes in the kitchen." Like
Yeah.
it's just not taken seriously. And I know a lot of the times, because our parents have been through so much, they just like, there's no way that you are going through all this at whatever age you're at, when I've been alive for so much longer, having experienced so much, this much more trauma, or whatever it is. It's like it's invalidated because we haven't experienced this lifetime of trauma yet. you know there's like, where's the preventative nature in that? Like, where are we trying to make it better for the next generation?
Right. And I've been thinking about this question for a while. You're the first person, because I don't ask people at my job or anything, but you know how much more we can accomplish as a people if we didn't have to deal with all the trauma from slavery, the bat or the dog whistles in the media about, black
Hmm.
people being a menace and this, that, and the third. Like, how much more we could really accomplish in this world if we didn't have the burden of, our skin color dictating everything we do in life.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we don't think about things like that enough. I think we don't even think about enough the true context of how much our people have been through. I think a lot of the time here, because anti-blackness is so pervasive and because it's so like sometimes insidious in its presentation and it can be so like covert sometimes, it will be perpetuated by everyone. Everyone will
Right.
be perpetuating anti-blackness. Sometimes, especially Black people. Sometimes, especially those who are most systemically affected by it, go out and have to perform it because they think that that's a form of survival. And to a certain extent, it is. But we're also sacrificing a lot in that. And
Right.
I know just from my experiences of being in, academic spaces or spaces in nonprofit leadership where it's usually very white and very much older than me. I know that these are spaces that we need to be in, but I know that we keep ourselves out of those spaces sometimes too. Like there's absolutely people gatekeeping and keeping us out of those spaces, but because of things like imposter syndrome or our own internalizations. It took me 2 years to start this podcast after people had already started telling me, like, yeah, do it. I'll listen to it. You have a great voice. You have a great perspective. I had to battle myself and all
Mhm.
the internalizations, all the negativity that I had stored inside of me that was telling me I couldn't do XYZ to push through and actually do it. To start telling the truth to people who you know, I could lose something from telling them the truth, but I got to do it anyway because I got to be true to me. And that's what this healing has taught me.
You gotta have that IDGAF repellent on you, and not caring what people think whatsoever. I don't know if we can curse on here, probably not, but it's fine. The IDGAF repellent is a real repellent. Trust me.
Mm.
You spray some on every morning, you be feeling good walking out the house.
But don't spray on too much, child, because we got some people in our community just drowning themselves in it before they walk out, and they losing that sense of community that I kind of need people to have a little bit. Because while we don't need to give a fuck, to a certain extent, and we do need to trust ourselves and do what we know we're here to do. And a
Mhm.
lot of the time, what you're called here to do isn't something that maybe everyone in your immediate circle is going to relate to or respect or want to invest in. So I get what you're saying. To a certain extent, you got to not give a fuck. But I think that we got to not give a fuck when it comes to our investments into our community, if that makes sense. Like, give a fuck, but don't give a fuck when it comes to people telling you things like, you can't lead your community. You don't know what your community needs. Of course, we can lead our own communities. Of course, we know what our communities need. Of course, we have the ability to provide protective factors for ourselves. Now, can we do it alone? Do we need things like government funding and the grants and the community support to do the things that we need to do? We need our community to back our investments over some other people's investments, if you know what I mean.
Mhm.
Absolutely. But we
Yeah.
still need to have that community piece. Is so important.
Yeah, the community piece is important, and no one does it on their own. You look at other groups of people; they gotten help from the
Hmm.
government, like the Native Americans, like just different group, the Jewish American. Everyone has gotten help in some way, shape, or form. I don't know with our people, we just have to like make dollar bills in a factory somewhere, or just wait for it to rain down. Like I don't know.
Right. Always some special circumstance or condition for our people, right? That's just the expectation. But a lot of what we're talking about right now is, and especially through community work, which I'm deeply invested in, like a lot of the community work for Black and brown people who are investing in our community, we're healing focus. We know what our people need. We're promoting therapy in so many different ways. I'm attending healing retreats. I'm creating healing retreats with people in community right now, Black people in Seattle. So I know that the work is being done, but I also know that we are lacking in community investment. I know that it's harder for us to get grants for our work, and I know that sometimes when we have a famous celebrity or, some Black person in the community who has a lot of money, who then ends up being someone that a lot of people look up to, makes some grand gesture to our community. And who do they go through to do it? Some white people, right?
Yeah.
So I just feel like a lot of the healing that we need is around self love, because as we're healing that self love and we're healing our relationship to ourselves, we are then going to heal our relationship to the next person.
Yeah.
who looks like us.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that about the celebrity because if a celebrity came out and did the same thing you did with the healing sessions, the outfits are gonna be on 10. People are gonna look their absolute best. They're gonna come with the stories, then after everyone's gonna take group pictures. But what's wrong with just a regular healing session on a Sunday in Seattle or whichever day it is? Like I
Yeah.
want to go to one of those actually.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Is it
loop you
just for women
in.
only though? Or
No, I am not a woman. I am non-binary. So
mm,
I believe in healing for definitely for the girls. The
mm,
girls aren't always girls. If you know, you know. So, but that's for the queer community. They know what I mean, right? When I say that. Um, but when it comes to healing, like it's for me, healing is for every black person and then every brown person who's not anti-black, because like if you come into the space being anti-black, I cannot help you,
mm,
right? Like there is some qualifications. But yeah, like we actually had this healing retreat that I went to 2 weekends ago. It was called like Renew, right? So has no gender specifications on it. Everyone was like a woman or femme except for one person. There was a guy there. There was one guy there, and we was like, hey, like welcomed him in. Like he had a good time too. All did all the activities. I think that that's great to address because healing is not just for the women and femmes in our community. The men in our community need healing too, and they need support. And I've seen black men stepping up to do this. So I want to shout out to black men because black men are taking responsibility for the healing of the black men in our community, and it's happening right here in Seattle. I know that there's a gentleman's group that happens here. It's put on by a black man who I'm in community with, a great brother named Curtis Colhoun. So y'all, if you're listening and in the Seattle area, there is a gentleman's group. Go ahead and look it up and tap in, right? Because the healing is everywhere and it's coming from our communities outside of us who want to come to us and help us. Like they don't always know what we actually need, but we always know what we need.
yeah.
Are you
Yeah.
involved with sorry, I'm like, let me ask you something. Are you involved with community healing where you are? Like I think you say you're in like the Tacoma area.
Yeah, no, I'm in Issaquah.
Oh,
And
Issaquah.
that's
Okay.
all I'm gonna give away. I don't want people following me anywhere or trying to like, hey, what part of Issaquah? No, I'm just in Issaquah.
No, yeah, I love Issaquah. It's a beautiful area. Lots of great hiking over there.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna go hike it this weekend actually.
Do y'all do a lot of community work over there? A lot of community healing? Because I know in the nonprofit space that is an area where we're engaging the community with therapies that are not just sitting down and talking to a licensed professional.
I don't see it as much over here.
Mm,
The community work, the community healing that you speak of, I don't see as much over
hmm.
here. I would say I see more of it in Renton. Like I was in Renton this past
Okay.
weekend. Just seeing signs here and there, like just knowing people who live in Renton. I see
Hmm.
it more in places like there. I would assume it's big in Seattle as well, but Issaquah, no, no.
Okay, say that. No, I get it because in the Seattle area, Seattle is where a lot of the resources are. I know that it can be hard for people to access things like therapy. I actually couldn't afford therapy for years and didn't have insurance, so I was like, "Well, I'm not getting therapy." Until I came across things like the Therapy Fund Foundation, Therapy for Black Girls, the Loveland Foundation, and those are three places that I know if you're Black, you can go to get three free therapy vouchers. And so I've been able to pay for countless sessions of therapy over the years using free therapy vouchers. Like, y'all, if you are listening, please look into those resources. They are there for you.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it. I
Yeah,
like this
absolutely.
podcast. I like this show actually. I like what you're trying to do. You making an impact on the culture. I like it.
I'm
You identify the
trying.
problem. You said, "Know what?" And Lou just complaining about the problem. Let's find a solution. Let's not only do a podcast. Let's open up events for people to come and talk about it. And I'm assuming you're going to expand out
Oh,
in Oregon,
absolutely.
California. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. I am coming from the nonprofit profit sector where I've been building curriculum programming for our community for years. So I was doing it around homelessness prevention, but with a holistic lens.
Mhm.
So I've been doing all different kind of healing that can lead to a person being um, able to either bounce back from homelessness, prevent themselves from becoming homeless in the first place, or, even spread it to their community and prevent the next person from becoming homeless. So I know that issues like homelessness, lack of access to mental health, um, lack of access to good food, these are things that concern our community and we're disproportionately affected by. So while there's a lot of podcasts out here that are, I saw one today, the child that was debating whether men should be able to call their dads a daddy or not, right? There are other podcasts like this one,
Hmm.
like yours, where we're trying to change the conversation up. Like, we got to do something better. And a lot of what I think we're going to have to do is unlearn and relearn how to be in community together. So yes, that is absolutely something that I'm trying to promote with this podcast.
Wait, how do you do that when grown people will make it known that they're grown and they don't want to change? I see that, like, the ego. The reason why I speak to more women in a day than men is because of the ego with guys. It's always a pissing contest or just some sort of ego like who's tougher, who's harder. I'm like, nah, I don't want to. I'm not trying to engage in all that.
That's the thing. Like, when you don't have that ego, like, you realize that no one's going to make anyone do anything. So
Hmm.
all this, like, who's going to, no one's going to make you do that. No one can make you do that but you. And that's a power that you got to claim. No one can tame you but you. Can you handle you? When you're pissed off, can you make sure you don't say nothing that you don't want to say or that's going to cause a problem for you later? Right? Because that's where the power lies, not in staring down someone else or trying to make yourself, feel big at someone else's expense. The real power, I'm telling you, no one has been harder for me to confront than this bitch right here.
Don't call
Do you
yourself
not
that.
want to hear it? I don't ever want to hear it from me, but I've learned to hear it from me. I've learned to speak to myself in a way that I can receive. And a lot of that, came from me being gentle with myself, becoming my friend, kikiing with myself a little bit, letting myself know it's okay to fail. It's okay if you didn't do it right that time. You'll get it next time, you
Right.
know? And that then is going to create a better relationship with myself and with other people. Those people who is all like, I ain't gonna change it, can't nobody make me.
Yeah.
You are absolutely right.
It's a lot of that in our community. A lot of that. A whole lot of that.
Yeah. And honestly, I don't know what I don't think I have the capacity yet to convince someone that they need to change. I think that's only something that you can do. As an individual, only I could convince me to really do what I needed to do to get into therapy. Only I can really hold myself accountable to the change that I say I want.
So let me ask you something, right? So on a scale of 0% to 100%, how far along are you in therapy? Or how far along have you healed?
I think that's such a good question. And I don't think that I would be able to put a percentage to it just because, one, I think that therapy in the form of just sitting down with a licensed professional and bouncing some things off of her is probably something that I'm going to engage with on and off for the rest of my life.
Mm.
So my relationship with therapy is my own, and I encourage people to do that. What I will do is I like to do a group of sessions. So right now in particular, I'm working through 8 sessions, and I'm actually doing couples therapy right now with my husband. So we are working through 8 sessions together. Um, we like to do our sessions in groups so we can take all the knowledge from these 8 sessions, take all of our homework and work on that material for as long as, it's relevant to our relationship and it's something that we're working on, and then continue to live our lives. And if we see something else come up that we don't already have a tool for in our toolbox, then that would be a time when we would be reaching back out to the therapist to sign up for a few more sessions.
Okay. I hope that y'all get to it together and learn more things about each other and come to a resolution.
Absolutely. I think that therapy is maintenance, right? So I believe in getting therapy before you get married, for example. Now ask me, did I? No, I did not. but but have we gotten it since then when we realized that we needed some more tools? Absolutely. I think that frankly, that's what you're supposed to do, right?
Hmm.
When you're married, you're supposed to
Oh, I mean,
maintain that
I would
relationship.
guess so. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, let me tell you. When you're married, you need to maintain that relationship. And just like I pursue therapy individually to get tools to put into my personal toolbox so that whenever I run into an issue, I already have coping mechanisms. If I have a problem or I'm facing something emotionally, I know how I can deal with it and I know 10 different things that I can do. And so the same thing for our relationship. When we run into a conflict or an issue, we have a toolbox. We have things that we know we can do to get us back on the right path. And I think that therapy can be a tool for people, and that can make it less intimidating.
Yeah. I haven't been married, so I was like, you were just going to take the lead on that one. I'm not in a relationship. I haven't been married, so people only want to hear from people that have experience in it. So yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. But I mean, we all have experience in relationships. That's why I put some emphasis on platonic relationships because I've been married for so long now. I've been married for 7 years. Like people always assume like, oh, blah 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 blah. But like I don't put everything on my husband. He doesn't put everything on me. One person can't be everything for you. Like I call my one of my girls every day. Like I'm on the phone with somebody every day. I go
Mm.
out on dates with my girls. We have girl nights. I do more trips with my girls than I do with my men. Like I swear, he don't even be liking to travel half the time. So I really believe that people should have full lives. Like don't count on one person for one thing. I think that would be a lot of pressure for me to handle if
So you guys pretty much share your happiness then. You
yes.
find what makes you happy, he finds what makes him happy, and then you guys come together and share your happiness. But in terms of individual happiness, you guys often hang out with friends or do whatever makes you happy.
Yes, my husband was doing this video game holiday with his friends like a couple of months ago, and like while I did not understand any of it, like I was so happy that
Mm.
he had somebody to be excited about this thing that he was excited about because I love seeing him excited and I love seeing him, do his little video game thing. But video games is something that I missed the boat on. So, like, he gets me into VR and he'll take me on a VR date. And I think that VR is kind of like the way that I would engage with video games for the most part. But he ain't gonna ever get that fulfillment through me.
Uh, that you have to tell in. You don't know about the sitting with the group of friends with the Xbox controllers and playing Call of Duty all day. Trust me,
No, I
that was a
didn't. I
time.
missed out on that. I
Yeah.
had my head in a book somewhere. Like I love reading. And like look, I mean I'm not forcing him cuz we don't do that here, but I will sometimes let him like show me the world that he created on some video game, right? And then he will read a book with me or let me read through one of my favorite books with him. So we also do little things to help exchange our interests. And I will say that um letting being more flexible and doing more things that I don't assume that I'm gonna like is a tool that I got from couples therapy. Because a lot of the times, like I be thinking I'm right about stuff, and my therapist will out some ways in which perhaps I was not.
Well, maybe the game is a healthy coping mechanism for him. He's probably went through a lot in his life. So you
Mm-hmm.
know what? I can just unwind by playing Fortnite or Gears or whatever he plays. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's why I don't judge people's coping mechanisms. That
Mm.
is a thing. Video games can be therapeutic. People can get a lot of calmness from them, right? Because when we're traumatized people, and most of us are, we've had a lot of stress on our nervous system. And so a lot of what we need to do is just calm our nervous system, do things that make us feel safe, that make us feel, connected. And a video game can do that for someone. A long conversation with a friend can do that for someone. My
That
husband
doesn't
likes
get
to be
talked about
alone
enough.
a
That
long
does not get
time.
talked about enough at all. The
Yeah.
stress and what it does to your nervous system. It comes to a point where you can't sit down straight. You can't process your emotions straight. Women, usually like everyone has their attractiveness to of certain people. Like you can't even
Hmm.
find certain people attractive anymore because your nervous system is so beat down from stress. And our people, black people, we get it the most. So
Yeah.
yeah, healthy coping mechanisms is really, really, really key. I'm seeing that now because I fell into some addictions like past year or so. I'm not going to speak about on here, but if
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing it like just being good and well off now, I can only imagine people with like less money than me in like a low income neighborhood, like how they're dealing with addiction. So, whew.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like, since the pandemic started, even, there's like even gambling addiction has increased. I'm like, now how people gambling more? We don't got no money. Like,
They used the
they're
1200.
making it easier. They're making it easier and more accessible to gamble. That's the thing. Like, it can
Homeboy
be.
gave us 1200, then he gave us 1400. And he said, "All
Hmm.
right, enough. Get back to work."
Like, for real. So it's been really hard. And excuse me, child, I'm thirsty from all this talking. I can see why people are turning to things that make them feel better. I'm not going to knock anybody for that. I think that if we increase the number of things that make us feel better, then that can only be good for us. And I've
Well, what makes
honestly
you feel better? Because
being
drugs make
present.
people feel better.
Yeah, but if we increase the number of things that make us feel better. So I think that someone's more likely to turn to a drug if it's the only thing that makes them feel good. But
Yeah,
if
there's some
you
people like that
have
out there.
a
Yeah.
lot of other things that also make you feel good that might be easier to obtain or easier to access, then I think that that can be a good thing for people. Because I know that through my healing process and through um, adapting, these therapeutic coping mechanisms, my presence has increased. And these are presence in my quiet moments. Times where my mind used to be running, now I'm just like sitting down, appreciating my quiet apartment, the bush
Yeah.
outside of my apartment, the leaves, coming in for the spring. Like, these are things that now are like
Not scanning a
romantic to
timeline.
me.
Yeah, on the phone. Not
Mhm.
yeah, not because that's draining as well. Scanning a timeline. It's addicting. That's another addiction. Screen time.
Yeah. What do they call it? Doom scrolling.
Hmm.
Is they're like there's a whole ass name for it. I've actually I used to not understand what people meant when they said, "Oh, I have to take a social media break." I didn't get it because for me, I've like curated my timelines to be like motivational quotes and cat videos, things that make me happy. But when I started getting back and more engaged on Twitter, which I now kind of use as my news source,
Hmm.
now I get it. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah, because I was scrolling for 30 minutes, and in that 30 minutes, I was reminded about our rising water levels, that they keep killing Black people, that there's people caged at the borders, that CPS keeps on tearing apart Black families, like literally just in that 30 minutes. And
Transphobia,
yeah,
sexism,
transphobia, like Black trans women dying every single day, and people literally just never taking it seriously. Um,
school shootings.
Homophobia, school
Yeah. People
shootings.
trolling as well. We need gun control. Okay, yeah, rest in peace to those individuals, but no, let's leave the guns alone.
Oh
That's
my
not what that
God.
person, that's not what that family of the victims want to hear at that exact moment. They want to
Don't
know
get me
that the
started.
kids are going to be safe. So,
Don't get me started. Like, we're banning weapons that are like not the weapons that our people are most likely to use in all these shootings that are happening. So I get now how social media can be something that you need to take a break from for your mental health. And I suggest people do that. Things outside of therapy you can do. Turn your phone on do not disturb for an
yeah,
hour a day and meditate or just sit in silence.
yeah.
You know?
Speak to your neighbors. Like get back to like social skills. Interact with other humans. Keep your mind off like the drama and the negativity all day. Yeah.
Yes. And
Like the Met
also,
Gala. Last thing, I'm sorry. Met Gala is tonight, I believe, because I just saw the commercial. There's gonna be so many memes and storylines off that alone. Like just let it go. Just don't even engage in it.
mm,
But knowing our generation, they're not gonna. Gen Z's not gonna let off. The jokes are gonna fly tonight.
yeah, it's too much. Like, we really gotta shift our perspectives to be more positive. And for me, that's been again years in the making. I've had a lot of conversations with Black people, even Black people doing the work, right? Black people who spend their 9 to 5 creating programming and services for our community will be saying the same stuff about Black people. as Black people who don't invest in our community at all, who don't
Hmm.
believe in the community, who don't love the community, right? And
Hmm.
so I've had to ask people, if the people who hate the Black community are speaking down on the Black community, and the people who love the Black community are also speaking down on the Black community, who out there is speaking life into our community? Pray tell.
They probably don't have big social media followings. I think it's kind of a tricky. I'm not trying to go over the time limit here. It's kind of tricky. The
You are good.
No, it's tricky because the people who are really passionate about the Black community, they don't really care about looking cool. Like their words are
Mm-hmm.
what's going to resonate with people the most. They know they're not the flyers. They don't have on the best outfits or the biggest following, but there are people out there speaking life into the Black community, whether it's
Yes.
influencers or just coaches, janitors, just somebody like their everyday man and woman. Like someone, people
Yeah.
are speaking life into the Black community.
And I feel that I mean, I speak life into the Black community every single day. I make a point of it because I understand people's frustrations. And I know that a lot of time when we're talking about our community, we're not talking about our community. We're talking about the challenges that our community continuously faces. That is what we are tired of. And I
Hmm.
get that. So I'm like, we really just got to shift our language to be more reflective of what we're really talking about. You know, we got to tell the whole truth because, in a lot of senses, our community, like, we down bad. And we got to acknowledge that, and we got to really start moving and thinking and acting differently towards each other. It's going to be really important.
And think we have to think like we're about like someone is trying to get rid of all of us on this entire planet. Like I don't want to throw in the white towel and like really go into panic mode, but the way it's looking right now, our numbers are increasing. We're up at 14% right now in the country, like
Mm-hmm.
Black population, but
Mm-hmm.
you got to look at the wealth gap. I saw something about the wealth gap in New York, or the education gap is widening between Black and white students. That's not good.
The
We
wealth
need
gap has
education.
only widened for Black people, same in Seattle, in the exact same way. So I definitely agree with you. Like, we got a lot to do as a community. I think that when we add in the Black immigrant community to it as well, there's a lot of solidarity. There's a lot of opportunity for solidarity between our communities. We have more in common than we have, that's different for us. So I think that we absolutely have a lot of opportunity for solidarity and unity in our communities. And we have a lot of new podcasts and leaders and innovations and interventions coming out of the Black community. So people tap in. We out here.
Yeah, we are out here. Yeah.
Absolutely. So Tyson, tell the people where they can find you out in the world, what platforms you're on.
Okay, I'm on LinkedIn at Tyson Robinson, TysonRobinson. I'm on Facebook, same as well. I am on Instagram and Twitter at Tyson's Vibe, TysonsVibe. Again, I'm the host of the Tyson's Vibe podcast. New episodes on YouTube every Tuesday and Friday. Interview some of the hottest people in business. So tune in, join the vibe.
Yes. And again, I'm Selena Green, and this has been the Hot Girls Healing Podcast. I will see y'all next time.